turn your hose on without getting sprayed with water?
I didn't want to see YouTube, did you?
Ready? Thank you. Okay. Welcome. We call to order on this day of July 7th, the Trinity County Board of Supervisors meeting. And we will open this meeting with a pledge of allegiance, and we'll be led by CAO Tuthill.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're fine. I will let you get settled. This next item is very important, so I will give you a few moments. You're all set. Our first act of the meeting today is to adopt a proclamation celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. This proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Trinity celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Whereas on July 4th, 2026, the United States of America commemorates the 250th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, marking 2.5 centuries since our nation's founders declared that all people are created equal and are endowed with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas this historic, semi-quintessential, that's a long word, provides an opportunity to reflect upon our nation's enduring ideals of self-government, individual liberty, representative democracy, and civic responsibility, while honoring the generations of Americans whose service, sacrifice, perseverance have strengthened our nation and preserved these freedoms. And whereas Trinity County's own history is deeply woven into the story of California and the American West, established in 1850 as one of California's original 27 counties, Trinity County has been shaped by the resilience of the Native American tribes who have stored these lands since time immemorial, the discovery of gold, pioneering settlers, miners, ranchers, loggers, educators, veterans, public servants, business owners, and countless families who built vibrant communities throughout our mountains and valleys. And whereas the communities of Weaverville, Hayfork, Lewiston, Douglas City, Junction City, Trinity Center, Coffee Creek, Ruth, Mad River, and many other rural communities have contributed to the unique character and enduring spirit of Trinity County through generations of hard work, volunteerism, innovation, and steadfast commitment to neighbors helping neighbors. And whereas Trinity County has long demonstrated the values of public service and civic engagement through its dedicated first responders, military veterans, educators, public employees, nonprofit organizations, tribal governments, faith-based organizations, service clubs, and volunteers who work every day to strengthen our communities and improve the quality of life for all residents. And whereas the Board of Supervisors recognizes the story of Trinity County is enriched by the diverse cultures, traditions, and contributions of all who have called this place home, and preserving our history while investing in future generations ensures that our communities remain strong, resilient, and welcoming. And whereas the 250th anniversary of the United States offers an opportunity for all residents to learn about our shared history, visit local historical landmarks and museums, participate in community celebrations, support civic education, honor our veterans and public servants, and renew our commitment to the principles upon which our nation was founded. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Trinity County Board of Supervisors hereby joins the communities across the nation in celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America and encourages all residents to commemorate this historical milestone by reflecting upon our shared history, honoring those who have contributed to our nation's and county's success, participating in educational and community events, preserving our local heritage, and renewing our commitment to liberty, democracy, civic responsibility, and service to one another. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors encourages all Trinity County residents to celebrate America's 250th anniversary in the spirit of unity, respect, and optimism, recognizing that our shared commitment of freedom, opportunity, and civic engagement will continue to guide Trinity County and our nation for generations to come. Do I have a motion? Would anyone like to make a comment? Oh, I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you for the second. Would anyone like to make a comment?
Well, I would say that was beautifully written. It's moving and stirring, and I was reflecting this last week. I was 10, almost 11 years old when it was our bicentennial. I remember the quarter going around, that bicentennial quarter, and you wanted to find one and collect a bunch of them. And it's shocking. That's 50 years ago. And here we are in the, I guess, the resiliency of the democratic republic that we were handed astonishes me. It's beautiful. Hopefully we do a good job of taking care of it. And I think things like this, when we pause to really think deeply and honor richly, is important. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well said. Thank you.
I'll just say I was fortunate enough to grow up in a patriotic home. I grew up in a family where stories were prevalent predominantly after dinner. And so I grew up on World War II stories of my grandpa. There wasn't a story told where there wasn't two time markers. Was that before or after the war, which was the Second World War, or was that before or after the flood, which was the 1964 flood? Everything was set to those two markers in terms of my family's story. And I am super grateful that I was raised to be a patriotic person. And sometimes you have heart's desires and you want them to be your reality, but then your kids get to see them into fruition. And there was no greater voice of astonishment than that of my son when he texted me during the 850,000 fireworks that were going off in Washington, D.C. as he stood in the Washington Mall saying, "Mom, this is epic. Mom, this is unreal." And just getting to hear the excitement in his voice as him and his buddies spent an entire week in our nation's capital was very, very fun. I was moderately jealous, but I am so grateful that they spent all of that time and there wasn't a foul event in their line of sight. They saw no arguments, no fighting. Everybody was having a grand time. And I'm so grateful that we live in a nation where we can celebrate together all walks of life. So we are God blessed in this nation. So I will now call for a vote.
Supervisor Lutweiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
Aye. We take it.
Would you like to have one?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that. Can we do it by the flag? Do you think?
That's great.
Why not?
To first.
Let you guys find out, move this out of the way. Then you want to help her move the flag?
Just set it down here so that we can see it. Touch the bottom. All right. And we try. Thank you. There. Now we're by our county and our flag. Yeah. Good. Thank you. We will now hear item A2, receive an update from the U.S. Forest Service representatives regarding matters of interest to Trinity County. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Roy Jones, And this might be my last meeting because my detail is coming to an end beginning of next month. So it'll either be this one or the next one. And I just want to say, like, I've had a great time working up here, and I appreciate the support that you're giving the Forest Service with all these projects. And I have a long list today. I'll try to summarize it. But first, I'm just going to start off with fire updates. In the last couple of months, we've had roughly like 5 fires due to lightning and whatnot, and they've kept them all under an acre. The biggest one got to 4 acres. So that's due to all the training preparedness that the folks have done up here. And we went into fire restrictions last week, and I sent a notification out to let you guys know we were looking to go in. I wanted to make sure I got all your email addresses off the page. Did that come through? Okay, cool. So now I have all your email addresses, and I can send you this update also.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, so we've really hit the fuels peak emergency action up there hard. We had those, the LOPs or the limited operating procedures that were in place, and they've been lifted. So now we've been up there. We've roughly had 40 to 50 folks up there with our resources, and then a lot of other groups. We've also had, when we go into like these high fire danger, the North Ops brings in resources and sends them, and we've been using those crews to help up there with that work. So it's just something, they're waiting for fires, and when there's not, we got them working doing fuels work to help reduce the fires. So we've roughly, like, since that's lifted, got about 60 acres completed. The total area of fuels reduction is around 800 acres that we'll be working on. We're going to be having a AmeriCorps crew coming in to help with some of that. We got CAL FIRE helping in, and then a couple contracts in with the Water Center. So that'll be continuing. We'll get as much done as we can this year, and then it'll go on for the next couple years. It's just an important one to hit because it's under that emergency action. Some of the other projects, we have a lot of projects going on. I'm pretty impressed with what Tara has going up here. So we're continuing with South Fork Mountain Fuel Break, the North Trinity Community Risk Reduction, Big Ranch Community Risk Reduction, Junction City Community Risk Reduction, the Wildwood Forest Resilience, and the Weaverville Fuel Break. So that's a big list. Done my best to keep the ball rolling as I've been here, and it seems to be moving right along. So
Good.
From our civic culture, so the South Fork Mountain Fuel Break, NEPA was signed, I believe, last week, and fuels work has already started up in that project. We're at limited capacity, or not limit, maximum capacity more or less. So the 6 Rivers has started the work, and then we'll be coming in behind them doing work also. We're also looking this summer to begin some road resurfacing and restructuring up in the Corral Bottom area on the 47 road. Big Ranch and North Trinity, the planning efforts are starting to get wrapped up, so we're getting close on that. There's we have to do a lot of planning before we can go into action, but we're getting there. The fuels contract was submitted for some work north of Hyapalm community, which is going to help improve that fuels conditions and help protect that community out there. And then one last thing, before I ask if you have any questions, is Troy brought up the Resource Advisory Committee last month. So it's like, we call it the RAC committees. So Monique's really trying hard to get folks. We really need a county or local elected official on that board would be great. And then, so we have 15 slots that we have to fill, and we can't get going until we get those 15 people, and she's got 3 so far.
And you contact Monique?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the application is on, and I can bring some more. Troy dropped some applications off last time. I didn't bring any this time, but it's on our website. And I can email. I'll email it to you guys.
Okay. I'm willing to do that.
So, I mean, and that's if you guys might know, I mean, those groups are really great. So there's funding, and like that group kind of comes up with what they want to see done. It has to be on the Forest Service land. But, that group will kind of dictate what happens with that money. So it's pretty neat.
Do they meet on a regular schedule or as needed?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I would think there would be a meeting on the, like a regularly scheduled one, and then probably as needed if something came up.
Okay.
So
I did-
ours hasn't been active on my forest where I came from for quite a while. I was trying to get that going. It's a lot of work, so, but it's a great resource.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. And once again, I want to thank you guys for being so supportive to me and the Forest Service. I'm really glad to come home. I still call it home here because this is where I grew up.
We're glad you got to spend some time at home.
Yeah.
I
But,
do want to say I had the opportunity to recreate in our forest over the Father's Day weekend, and there's no place like it.
No.
I've run around quite a bit, and there's no place like Trinity County.
I
So,
agree.
I'm
So
a-
if there's any questions?
did anyone have any questions?
Not a question, just thank you very much. The Bradburn Trail is starting work on it, and we are so excited to see that finished. And the more trails we can develop, the better off we'll be. I think it's a wonderful way to
Yeah, and I guess I didn't hit that.
enjoy the
I'll-
forest. So.
I guess I'll take a step back. So we've gotten a lot of great trail work done this year.
Have.
We've had a big group up in the Trinity Alps and then a big group over in the Old Bullies doing a lot of work. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to see that because I know our trails budgets have been pretty low, at least where I'm from, like, and they seem to have came back a little bit more this year. I know there's a little more activity up here, but there was a lot going on. So.
Yeah, exciting.
Yep.
Thank you.
I didn't see Mike McFadden for like a whole month. He was just up in the wilderness.
That's where he likes to be. So,
Yeah, we'll be talking to him. Yeah.
does anyone else have any questions of our U.S. Forest Service?
Oh, one more question. It's a rumor maybe, but are dirt bikes being not allowed? Or is there a lift on the ability to ride?
You mean motorized?
Yeah, no, yeah, motorized.
Vehicles?
I think that, yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of, so there's areas where you can't take them, but, I mean, where it's legal to ride them.
Okay, but not because of fire danger, not because of anything right now. There's
haven't-
no specific, okay, good, because
No, I
there's,
haven't heard
okay,
that.
right. it's
Just our
areas that-
campfire restrictions.
Yeah,
is all that
and
we're-
places where they aren't anyway. Okay, just wanted to make sure we didn't have anything new coming down.
No
Okay,
problem. Well,
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Come back and visit.
Yes.
We will now move to public comment. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. Do we have any public comment in the room? Good morning, sir.
Yes, we do. Back in the 70s, when you walked up the stairs at the courthouse to
Okay.
the top floor,
Mhm.
when you turned right, you went into the sheriff's office. When you turned left and went left again, where human resources, that used to be the Board of Supervisors chamber.
Mhm.
Across the hall from that was civil court. When you went into the chamber at that time, you could have a conversation with the board. You could have a 2-minute conversation or a 2-hour. It did not matter. You had a conversation with the board. When you guys moved here, you could have a 10-minute conversation. Then it went to a 5-minute conversation. Then it went to a 3-minute conversation. And then it went to a 3-minute comment.
Mm.
You know, I mean, and you never, ever in the public voted on reducing that time. Never, ever in front of the public did that. And we used to be able to pull consent items off, which we no longer have the right to do that either. And we need to rethink this stuff.
Is there further public comment in the room?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I'm gonna fit it all in 3 minutes, but here we go. You made a comment about growing up. I grew up in Ohio, different situation. I grew up right outside Valley Forge National Park. Lived in my street was Valley Forge Army Hospital, became Valley Forge Military Hospital. From the time I turned 5 years old, from before sunup to after sundown, it was helicopters every day. I had a science teacher that was the chaplain at the Army base. When he came in one day a week, the pastor from my church, the priest, because I went to a Catholic school, went and filled his position for a funeral service at the chapel. During that time, if you wore a uniform downtown Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, you got spit on. You got yelled at for being baby killers. I had a black couple, beautiful couple, Johnstons. He was a captain, she was a lieutenant, both doctors. When they wanted to rent the house at the top of my street, the military MPs went around to all the families in that entire housing development and asked if there was a problem, if there was a Negro couple going to be. Good. So we have a highly different way of growing up. I'm glad you have all those memories. I don't. I attended many funerals because we used to sneak onto the Army hospital to go swimming or play tennis. In 3 years, 4 years, I probably attended 2,000 funerals. Or GIs or pieces of GIs, or I was the only one in the audience. So this 250th anniversary, it ain't all good. You spoke about your folks being in DC for the light show. It's still hazardous air. The place is polluted. Everything that went off in the air came down on the ground. So that's my soapbox on that. A couple months ago, I came in here and asked the board if anybody voted on this thing to cooperate with ICE. Nobody gave me an answer. 3 weeks later, ICE kidnapped a guy at parole or probation. Have the flock cameras been approved? Anybody? Have the flock cameras been approved?
So public comment is about you sharing. We don't respond.
Okay. Then I got a FOIA request. I want to know every time a tag's been run. You're public officials. Here's my verbal FOIA request.
What is the protocol for a FOIA request? Is there
Any public official can take it verbally.
We have a policy that we're required to be submitted in writing, and we are not FOIA, we are a Public Records Act under California law.
So you don't follow federal? Oh, cool. That's it.
Is there any further public comment in the room? Morning.
Patty Hymas. I'm here on behalf of Robert Paul Preston, Governor Pro Tem, New California State, P.O. Box 3726, Yuba City, California, 95992. It's a letter dated June 20th, 2026. County Board of Supervisors, County Register of Voters, County Sheriff, regarding notice and request to be heard, petition for redress of grievances. Dear Supervisors, Register, and Sheriff, the purposes of this letter is to ask for an opportunity to address the entire board and or to present a claim contesting the certification of any election results at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors. I am also requesting that the board redirect the Register of Voters to respond to the request for information below. I invite your attention to the California Election Code, Section 16100D, which states in part, any elector of a county, city, or of any political subdivision of either may contest any election held within for any of the following causes. D, that legal votes were cast. The factual basis of my request is that it is common knowledge that there has been a flood of illegal aliens into the state of California, its counties, cities, and school districts. Those non-citizens have apparently been allowed to register with the Department of Motor Vehicles. With that registration, these non-citizens have been provided with voter registration and election ballots. It is also common knowledge that investigative reporters have discovered that some illegal aliens non-citizens have in fact voted. Providing these non-citizen voter registration and election ballots gives you, the members of the Board of Supervisors, and you, the Register of Voters, a legal basis to set aside the election and deny its certification due to the number of illegal voters as set forth in California Elections Code 16100, specifically subdivision D. These incontrovertible facts gives you, Sheriff, not only the right, but the obligation to investigate voter fraud. If the Board of Registrators certifies the election, they will be committing a felony to the board and the register. Would you please provide me and the person who served this letter on you the process and identity of all officers, employees, and volunteers engaged in the collection and counting of ballots, including the disqualification of ballots and voter for certification? As a voter in this state, it is the server of this letter named below. We object to our votes being diluted by the votes of those who are not legally eligible to vote. We also object to any compounding of a felony by certifying the election results. Thank you for prompt responding to this letter and giving me an audience with you to constitutionally readdress this grievance pursuant to the Bill of Rights, Article 1.
Thank
Yours
you. Your
truly.
time is up. Thank you.
And I have a copy for each one of you.
I do believe that any request has to
received
be.
it.
I was told to give you another one.
So you've received those electronically.
I will also, there's one also for the clerk, and I'll also give you to the register.
And what would that entail?
We'll,
Okay, is there
We'll-
any way to
we'll
talk?
work through the
Okay.
process with legal counsel.
Okay,
And
So-
he will be notified of any information.
Yeah, we'll work through our process with legal counsel and you'll be notified in accordance to our policy.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Chair,
sir.
the author of the letter will be responded to via a PRA request that's being addressed.
Okay, so to repeat, the author of the letter who made the request will be the one who is responded to via the PRA request. Great. Okay, is there any further public comment in the room?
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors, staff. Dan Trujillo, Weaverville. Over the past several years, one of the most consistent requests from the public has been greater opportunities for meaningful participation in county decision-making, and not simply the opportunity to react to proposals after they appear on the agenda, but the opportunity to help shape significant policy decisions before they are presented for adoption. There's an important distinction between public comment on the one hand and public deliberation on the other. Public comment allows citizens to respond to decisions that have largely been formulated, while public deliberation invites citizens into the development of those decisions while there is still meaningful room for dialogue, refinement, and mutual learning. And these are not the same thing. In democracy, legitimacy comes not only from following legal procedures, but from ensuring that the people affected by public policy have meaningful opportunity to participate in forming it. Especially in rural counties like Trinity, trust in local government depends as much on the quality of the process as it does on the outcome. When significant policy frameworks or governing principles are developed without early public engagement, residents can understandably feel that participation has become reactive rather than collaborative. Even when the process is legally sufficient, it may not satisfy the higher democratic expectation that important public decisions be informed by public reasoning before they are finalized. So I'd like to offer a recommendation for future policy frameworks, resolutions, establishing governing principles, or other foundational documents. Please consider releasing a draft for public review at least one meeting prior to placing that item on the agenda for adoption, inviting written comments, and where appropriate, holding a study session or workshop devoted specifically to those principles before formal action is taken. That approach would not diminish this board's authority. It would strengthen public confidence by demonstrating that public deliberation is not simply a procedural requirement, but a governing value. Thank you for your service and thank you for your attention.
I would like to ask you a question.
Okay.
In your effort to do this, have you reached out and contacted your supervisor and asked to have meetings with her one-on-one so that you can go over things that are coming up on the agenda or have been on past agendas?
Yes.
Good. then that's a good way for you to participate, is through your supervisor. Any further public comment in the room?
Would it be very difficult to do what he's asking or not? I mean, is there a way to incorporate?
I believe it's our
Deliberation?
opportunity as the supervisors to work with people within our constituency. We can,
In front of the board?
we can explore,
Just exploring the idea would be great, because deliberation is kind of important in front of this board as a whole, and getting the public involved, I think, is a good thing. It's what's being demanded now, so thank you.
do you have any further public comment in the room?
Sure. My name is Mark Gearing from Weaverville. I'm a new resident here in Trinity County, my first time voting, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the county office. We had to come in and get some help with our voting, and the office was amazing. They were quick and attentive and made the process super easy. And I just wanted to say thank you and thank our staff. So that's it.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment in the room? Seeing none, do we have any online?
Catherine Sidman?
Good morning, board. Catherine Sidman, Lewiston Road, Lewiston.
Good day, Catherine. We're struggling hearing you, so give us a moment.
Oh,
Turn that up, or maybe you can turn up your mic as well.
I don't think you can turn up a mic. I think you can turn up
Okay,
volume.
hold on just a moment. We need to work through the technology on this end so that we can hear you successfully.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now speak.
How's that?
That's much better. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Catherine Sidman, Lewiston. I'm excited that the fair is this week. And I'm having some relatives in from out of town. I'm so excited to show them the fair. I suggested they go to the Trinity County Fair website, and I surely regret doing that. I would encourage all of you to go try to attempt to navigate that website and get any relevant information. If you do figure out how to download the fair booklet, you will be greeted with a bold, colorful first page that has the wrong dates on it. Friday, July 8th through the 12th. Friday, July 8th doesn't exist this year. If you have the tolerance to continue through the booklet, you'll find, unfortunately, that one of our supervisors' name is misspelled. And nope, it's not Rick Lutweiler. If you can spell Rick Lutweiler correctly, my feeling is you should be able to spell anything correctly, certainly Julia's name properly. I'm so embarrassed. I'm really sad, and it certainly isn't the staff. The staff is underpaid, overworked, under-resourced, but I look to the board. We have a board. We have apparently an acting Jill's appointee is the acting CEO president, that no one could read this, that no one could use a essentially free website template I guess I just don't understand. I don't understand how we got here. I don't understand how the disrespect of spelling a supervisor's name incorrectly, who has an easy name to spell. The fact that we can't even get the date right, you can't find a schedule, you don't know, it's just. So I'm offering officially to volunteer. I'll be a proofreader. I'll be a website developer. I'll get you a free website. We'll do whatever we need to do to make this right. But right now, the people that are in charge of it, not the staff at the fair, for heaven's sake, but if the people on the board of the fair, certainly the acting CEO, big title for this sort of output, if those folks could care as much about the fair as the children raising the animals to show in the fair, maybe a little bit of effort and a little bit of community engagement. There's so many resources in this community of people that would be willing to help if there was a call for help. But anyway, this is a sad time. So I'll see you at the fair, and I hope the fair execution is better than what we're presenting to people.
Further public comment online?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Last call from the room. Seeing none, we'll now close public comment and move on to reports and announcements. We will now hear from any of the department heads that are in the room.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors, Drew Bluvani, Community Development Department Director.
I just wanted to give a brief update that going forward with the online monthly department head reports for a community development department, we'll be modifying the template and providing permit stats on a quarterly basis. We found it to be a bit time consuming for staff to do month over month stat development and reporting. So just wanted to let you all know that. And then to one of the comments from the Forest Service this morning, I'd be interested in applying for the Resource Advisory Committee. So I've spoken with CAO Todd Hill about that, and I plan to submit an application. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any further department heads in the room? Seeing none, do we have any online?
I see no raised hand.
Seeing none. I'll remind the public that the Board of Supervisors receives our department head reports via email. And then also those reports can be found on each county's department website. So you're open to look at those at any time you desire. We'll now have reports out from the members of the Board of Supervisors. We'll start. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I missed. I apologize for missing our report out from our County Administrative Officer, Mr. Trent Tuthill.
Thank you, Chair. So on June 30th, the state approximate $352 billion budget was signed. The budget largely minimizes impacts locally, in large part due to organizations like CSAC, RCRC, and local officials participating in events advocating for county priorities and ensuring decision makers know the realities of local budgets. So I believe the impacts locally will be minimized, which is good news for us. Our local budget process starts this week with department budget reviews and discussions, which will start Thursday and go through next Wednesday, July 15th. Many steps and actions over the next few weeks, with a proposed budget book being released publicly on September 8th. I participated in the annual NorthNet Library System meeting on June 24th. The main discussion revolved around the California Library Services Act funds and how those funds can be spent. Still working through our library budget and on some organizational structure, and now should all be wrapped up by the time the final budget is presented for proposed adoption. The employee picnic we had on June 18th, it was a huge success. Big thanks and shout out to all the department heads who organized and ensured a successful employee recognition event. And just a thank you to all those who helped and to all those employees who participated. Probably the most important announcement, salmon season officially started the 1st of July. So I'm very happy the board was able to play a part in that process to provide input to the regulation framework. So I appreciate that. There's been some good economic development type advertising using salmon season in general out there. So I think it's good thing for the county. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. We will now hear from our reports from our Board of Supervisors. And this morning we will start with Supervisor Gogan.
Good morning. After my out-of-county travel was to Humboldt County for a TMC meeting the day after our last meeting here. It was a good meeting. Attendance was good as always. We went over a few topics. One of them was the presentation that we saw last meeting we had here about hatchery and hatchery integration. So I'll start out with some news from the hatchery. The initial funding for the hatchery was just short of 70 million, about 68.6 million, to refurbish, restore our 60-something-year-old hatchery. The price tag now is about 125 million. So obviously we're at a deficit already, struggling to find out where to make up that money. I do think obviously the price will go up continually as the years go by. So I have a lot of hope that somehow we can get that money and get the hatchery working at full capacity, because there's honestly no way to get the fishing back to what it was pre-dam numbers without the hatchery. It's an important part of the the river system, and it is there to mitigate the fishery that was taken away when the dam was put in. I also want to thank Patrick Flynn, who works with Trinity County and is at the TRRP office. His technical knowledge, skill, serves this county greatly, is a big help to me, and I can't thank him enough for everything he does and all the stuff that he looks over. It makes it much easier for myself and possibly CEO Ted Hill, but CEO Ted Hill probably knows already. Just one thing I wanted to say about a comment that was made today, that I'll speak for myself and for some of the supervisors too. I think that, particularly myself, I'm available here every other Tuesday. I'm available down the road, just 7 miles, 30, 40, 50 hours a week. And weekly, I have multiple one-on-one meetings with people in District 3, whether it be Hayfork or Douglas City. I make the attempt to go to Hayfork to meet whoever would like to meet. Sometimes it's at their house, sometimes it's at the summit. But I think that this board in general is very accommodating to the public as far as meeting and requests for meetings. So I don't find a lot of validity in the fact that we're not available, for the public. Just knowing this board here, I think that we are. One of the good things is the fishing season has opened up July 1st. For salmon, we are able to take 2 salmon per day, 1 fish over 23 inches, 1 fish under 23 inches, or 2 fish under 23 inches, but you cannot have more than 1 fish over 23 inches. So I hope everybody enjoys the fishing. And about this time every year, what kind of hits me is that as I sit at the place down the road that I own, I see tourism come here. I see people from around the country, from around the world, actually come to Trinity County for their vacation, our home. So it's not to be taken lightly that we live in a beautiful place that people travel to because of its beauty, of its wealth, of its natural resources. And we get the privilege, the honor to live here year round. And that should not escape any of us. When we walk outside and see the beauty that we get to live in, the people that surround us, and the great community that we get to serve as supervisors, it's not lost on me, and I'm sure it's not lost on our supervisors, that we are very, very fortunate to be participate in this process and be part of this beautiful place that we live. It's absolutely, spectacular, and I've traveled a lot, and coming home is always a good thing. So I feel very fortunate to be a resident of Trinity County and be around the people that I am. So thank everybody out there.
Thank you. Are you complete?
That's it.
All right. Supervisor Lutweiler?
Yes. First, just a question to follow up on Supervisor Gogan's update. With the funding that the hatchery has been awarded, are they actually proceeding with what they can do with the 68 million and then just trying to get the rest for the rest of the work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is some, I can go into detail. I'm probably going to have Derek Rupert have a presentation here within the next month or so, and he can kind of spell out the steps that they're going to take with the funding available, and maybe a process of how to get more funding as this project tries to move forward.
Thank you. Okay. So since the last meeting, Behavioral Health Advisory Board meeting, chaired that month's meeting here in Trinity County. Also participated in the Trinity County Child Abuse Prevention Council meeting here in Weaverville. I was able to join the employee appreciation picnic. I had a meeting in the middle of it, so I sat on a bench and took my call. But it was great to be there for a few hours, got to help serve food for a while and see folks that in that way. And it was great to be able to be there. And I just want to honor the department heads who put their time and money and effort to make this happen, all out of their pockets, all out of their time. And I just think it's a great example that they're setting for us. Tourism participated in the 2/6 digital webinar that was focused on small business marketing. And there were only about 6 or 7 people that participated in that, but it is recorded. So the Trinity Chamber will be able to share that, and it'll be on the website so that that can be shared for people long after the meeting. But hopefully we'll get more people participating in these things as we go. But it was very valuable information shared in that. He probably could have had about a 5-hour to cover the same material because he covered so much so fast. And then I also joined the ad hoc committee for the tourism funding quarterly meeting, and I'll comment on that later in the committee updates. NORTEC, we've had both executive committee meetings and hiring committee meetings since the last Board of Supervisors meeting. And as I mentioned before, we are searching for a new executive director. So we have somebody in place to lead that recruiting effort. And then this hiring committee is helping to work through the actual process, much like we've done here for positions that we've recruited for. And then economic summit planning. I've mentioned previously for the last few years, I've been working with the Redwood Region RISE group for their regional economic summit. This year will be in Humboldt in October, the 1st and 2nd. And there are two, based on our meeting yesterday, there are 2 Trinity County businesses that will likely be highlighted in the program. And so it's great that there's an opportunity to bring that visibility to other people that are coming in from a multi-region area for Economic Summit about what's going on in Trinity County. That's it.
Thank you. Supervisor Cox?
I too was delighted and honored to attend the Employee Appreciation Picnic and want to add my weight of gratitude to our department heads, our CAO, our county council, who provided that. I moved around and visited with folks in the different departments as, you know, lunch was served and enjoyed. And I am just want people to be really mindful of the giving that goes on in order to strengthen relationships and morale within the county workers, and really appreciate that effort and the sacrificial giving that was involved. Regarding RCRC, 2 items. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to Supervisor Lutweiler. He, along with our PIO, Justin Cappuccino, somebody help me say his last name well. Caparuso, thank you. He is not a cup of coffee. They have created an online format that you can engage with to better understand this RCRC basket that I have been describing. You can contribute toward it and understand why that contribution is imperative and really appreciated, because it is very reflective of our county generally and the atmosphere that is involved, where that basket is auctioned off. The energy in that room and the reflection on our county is something that is really hard to describe just sitting here. So hop on to our county website and take a look at that. That information is also being disseminated through our chambers. And so thank you, Supervisor Lutweiler, for stepping in and really creating a system to provide effective communication and an ability to respond to that. Also open right now is the RCRC photo contest. It would be so exciting to have some of our local wonderful photographers submit photos that may be selected, and that winning photograph really does get used in quite a variety of places, and it would be fun to see Trinity on the map from our local talent. I also attended the tourism funding quarterly meeting. Supervisor Lutwell will report out in detail on that. But from my perspective, I want to thank those that are involved. They have needed to make a significant pivot in how they attack their required work, and they have risen to that occasion, and I'm proud of them and honor their diligence and their wholehearted efforts toward marketing our county. I have reached out to the project manager for the forest for the Minersville Boat Ramp, Marcus Nova, and want to share a report that he provided to me so we can all share in that update. He writes, the NEPA is complete. The categorical exemption decision was signed by Tara Jones on June 21st. The engineering contractor, that is TEPA, is the name of them, is finished. They have finished the revisions of the plan to 90%. Hope to have the finalized plans completed sometime this month. The contracting deadline most likely will not be met this fiscal year. They are looking to other options to expedite the work, including external agreements. It is too soon to tell what viability this has, but it does look promising. Angie Galvanez Perez, the forest engineer, received additional federal funding to help strengthen the construction process. Funding deadlines remain the same. We need to obligate funds within the fiscal year, otherwise we run the risk of losing our federal construction and maintenance funding. But regarding those permits, the Water Board and Army Corps feel that permitting should go smoothly. They work to provide permits in a timely manner. It will take months before those permits are received, but they are not required until it is time to break ground. So that timeline should be okay. I would remind us that Marcus was brought in because he is a finisher. He has a track record of putting projects over the goalpost. And so my hopes remain high, and I applaud their efforts and very excited about this project.
And we will all celebrate.
We're all going to
Boat ramp,
celebrate that one. That's right.
I say county event.
That's right. And then lastly, my quarterly meeting with the forest supervisor is coming up in just 1 month. That happens on August 7th. Rachel will not be back. She has had her detail as the regional supervisor extended. As Roy shared today, Tara will be back as our district ranger off of her detail as the deputy forest supervisor. And so Ms. I can't think of her name. I apologize for that. The gal that's been acting as the forest supervisor is moving on, and a new detail is coming in, and I will meet with her. So I appreciate the opportunity to meet with those detail personnel as well, so that we keep our relationships up and our contacts fresh, particularly during our fire season. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Brownfield?
Good morning. So I met with SSTAC, which is the transit department and commission for all the transit needs of Trinity County. Sarah Sad is the director of that. And they are doing a wonderful job of scheduling transit needs to Reading from all different places in the county. They're working on a wonderful pilot program that would include, hopefully include the 5th District way at the southern end to supply transit needs to them to get them to Reading on medical visits or what have you, banking, well, not banking, but medical needs and such. So I'm excited about that. I'm reaching the Southern District. It's been in the works for a while, so I'm hoping that gets completed and we get to do that. I got to MC our little parade in Ketton Palm and Xenia this year for the 4th of July. And we had the Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department. We had our fire department in Ketton Palm and Xenia. We had kids on motorcycles and 4-wheelers and you name it. And that is who I work for. It's a community that is so small, but we get together and really devote our time to making our communities the best that they can be. And I am so impressed at how we work together as a unit. And so that was really, 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 really fun. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, I want to thank the road department, the road crew. Holy moly, they have done an amazing amount of work in the 5th District at the southern end. I'm extremely thankful, grateful, impressed at the size of the crew. We just have a very small crew right now, and the ability for them to do what they need to do is impaired a little bit by that. So hopefully we can work on getting bigger crews there. But I want to thank specifically the road crew, Jonathan, the road supervisor, and Ron Hanover and Director Panos. They really do working hard to work with me, and I want to thank them. Make a point of doing that because I see the work. So thank you. And let's see. I think that completes my meetings.
You
Thank
guys are getting ready for your Ruth Rodeo too.
Oh, the
coming up
Ruth.
soon.
Oh, absolutely. The Ruth Rodeo is coming up on the 31st and 1st of August. And that is our baby. And we have hopefully we can get our buildings so we can do dancing and all of that. But that is a place where everybody shows up. It's from all over the world, really. The bulls are amazing. The cowboys are fantastic. We have farm families that have been involved for years and years. And the fair, that all ties together with the animals that they raise up there and take down, and people who buy these animals really, really step up. And yeah, my favorite time of year, for sure.
I think all of us have had festivities of some kind or another in
Yeah.
our districts, and it does make for a fun afternoon, I think, or evening. So I attended the NACO RAC meeting. Most of the NACO meetings right now are in preparation for policy opportunities to bring forward during the annual conference that is coming. I also, along with Supervisor Brownfield, was online with the DOT transportation, and I am just the intentionality of the decisions that they make to make sure that people are hitting the next bus in the right time, so
Right.
that they're not delayed in a community for 3 or 4 hours waiting, and then the intentionality of recognizing that there needed to be midday, so that folks could still have half of their day left and get back home, is really an act of, I think, empathy and intentionality and kindness, recognizing that folks need these transportation opportunities to really conduct life's business. And so it was great to sit in and listen on that. And I'm hopeful that some of the pilot projects, as Supervisor Brownfield mentioned, to provide individual or small group rides to people who have common doctor appointments, maybe at the veterans facility there in Reading or other places, is really needed and necessary, and hopefully that begins to work out. I attended the NACO Public Lands meeting in preparation. We reviewed the resolutions, the proposed resolutions for that particular working group that will come before the entirety of the working group at the NACO annual conference. It was many things that have to do with, of course, fire restoration and work around the West, as most public lands are Western counties. One in particular, there were two policies that I will share one-on-one with Supervisor Brownfield that have to do with railways and trails on those railways, and the mandate to keep those railways ready to be restored as tracks. So how that shakes down, as both of us have interest on the Redwood Trail, and some of the struggles, or I guess deep concerns, some of the landowners, specifically in Supervisor Brownfield's district, have with that trail possibly coming to fruition. So it's just always nice when you have other counties that recognize similar concerns, and you're able to jump in on their resolutions and support them, and then they kick back and do that for you as well. We submitted Commissioner Caucus and CAO Tuthill helped me create some language in a policy that I brought forward. I submitted it with the intentions for it to go into public lands, but it was cross-claimed by the Department of Transportation, the NACO's commission on that. And so I was able to present that to them, and I got buy-in from Colorado and Arizona. And it is my out is not over policy. And it basically brings forward the concerns that we can establish dedicated post-fire and storm funds, that when the fire is declared over, that we can still reach back into some of that emergency funding. Also streamline emergency repairs, hold wildfire response funds accountable for infrastructure damage, create a federal, state, and county cost share program for road repairs, and assign responsibility for all public roads and bridges related to disaster repairs to Federal Highways Administration. So that was allowed to go to the next level, and we will be working on that to tighten it up so that we can kind of have, we get really, in presentation, you get almost like a single punch, because there's so much going on that you have to really do a good job quickly. And so we'll work on that before I leave for NACO this month. But I was really happy that it got to the next level, and we'll hope that it gets to the next level and then to the final level. And if we make it all the way to the top, it'll be included in the policy that NACO submits to Congress. So that'll be pretty exciting if that works its way all the way up. That's my intention. So we'll go from there. And then I attended the Northwest California RC&D meeting. There's some struggling there because of finances, but we kind of rallied, and we're going to continue to look for money to work in the development of employment and natural resources in that organization. I do want to just kind of continue a nonstop shout out to the fuels reduction efforts that are going on in the Western Trinity and Eastern Humboldt. The crews are in my community right now, and I just am never not impressed when you see the watershed team or the RC&D team. Not only do they work like crazy guys, but the community says those guys are awesome. There's Facebook posts on the community pages hailing their good work, and it's just, to me, it's just a testimony of what it looks like when government, nonprofit organizations, community, and just grassroots leadership sits down together and creates an opportunity for improvement. They work super hard to get the funding, and then now it's coming to fruition. And the long-term impact of that will be that all of us have safer home and community environments when it comes to wildfire resiliency. So that is very, very cool. And I got to MC the Bigfoot Days Parade in Willow Creek. It's the Western County community kind of goes Cedar Flat all the way to Willow Creek down into Hoopah. So we all kind of live and work amongst each other and cross over those county lines. But yeah, Bigfoot's a big deal in Willow Creek if you haven't been there. But yeah, people came from far and wide to the Bigfoot Day celebration, and West County is always included in that. So it's always fun to have an opportunity to celebrate. And I came to Weaverville for the 4th of July events, and just went to the museum and walked around the vendors, and so grateful. It takes so much work to do what your community did, what this community did, what your community does during Christmas time with we just take some of those things advantage, but behind all of those things are some very tired people who work hard regardless of their own personal feelings, and they really they don't accept tired. They just keep going. And so off we go into fair, and I'll be there with my little number buying a pig. That's my job this year. I'm being sent to buy a pig, so hopefully that works out. And we will we'll have our fair, we'll have our rodeos, and we'll celebrate our communities together. So with fishing, and all the rafts are on the river right now. So it's happening. Summer's in full swing. So thank you, everyone, for your work in your districts. And we will continue now with our tourism ad hoc report out from Supervisor Leutweiler.
Okay, so when the board approved funding to the Trinity County Chamber of Commerce, we also required that there would be quarterly review sessions where they present information about what they had done with funds the prior quarter, the results it generated, and what they plan to do with the funds, if approved, for the next quarter, and results they anticipated. And we had set aside, I think, an hour for the meeting. And at about 2 hours and 10 minutes, I think we called it a day. But it was just because the chamber was really trying to provide a very robust update that included the whole year, since they had not had one for the earlier part of the year. And as Supervisor Cox said, there's a lot of great information there. We did provide some feedback about some things that we would like to see in the next update, just to bring it to the next level, if you will. But clearly a lot of work going on there. And in the end, Supervisor Cox, Director Plabani, and Terry McBrayer all joined me with a unanimous approval of the next round of funding. And so we'll continue to work with them on ways that we think they can be great stewards of those funds. But I think they're doing a great job, and they're very clearly trying to work across the county. I will say it came up multiple times that they are not getting the engagement that they would love to see from those other parties. So we're making it very clear to them that we expect it of them, and they get it. But you know, it's that lead a horse to water thing. So if you have people in your districts that could benefit from engaging with the chamber as they spend the county's money on tourism, I would encourage you to tell them, reach out. They're there, they're listening, they're trying, and they're doing a great job.
I have an individual that just comes to mind. I'll get the contacts, send them to you, or send them to the chamber.
To the chamber, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they'll take it directly.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you. We will now move to consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on this item on an item in the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Do we have any public comment in the room?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
There's nothing routine or non-controversial about D6. The opportunity zoning, there nowhere in the documentation does there show a map of where this zone is. If you go to the Census Bureau and look at the map that shows up there, it goes from northern Trinity County down Highway 3 to Trinity Lake Boulevard, over to Lewiston, to the Trinity River, down to Polka Bar, across over to north of the Performing Arts Center, up to the top of the ridge, and follows the ridge to the Trinity County border again. There's 5,000 people that live in that area, according to the census. This is money opportunity for people to develop commercial or rental property. There is a clause in there that they can have their money forgiven that's been spent. And this is something that the public should know about. I'm curious in why this is being hidden from the public when the public is the one who is affected by this. So I can't pull it, so I guess I won't.
Could we,
Well, yeah, let us finish public comment. Is there any further public comment in the room? Any public comment online?
I see no raised hand.
Okay, we'll now close public comment. I will pull D6 for discussion. Is there any other item in the consent calendar that any member of the Board of Supervisors wishes to pull at this time? Seeing none, I will consider a motion for the remaining of the consent calendar.
I move to approve all items on the consent calendar other than D6 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
Supervisor Lutwiler.
Aye.
Supervisor Cox.
aye.
Supervisor Brownfield.
Aye.
Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
Aye. We will now hear presentation or information on item D6. I believe we have. I'm sorry, one moment. Did you?
I forgot to mention that in the documentation, there's a 43-page presentation to the public that has not been presented.
Thank you. So item D6.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. So essentially in the last month or so, the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development sent out, an email blast notifying, I got it, others got it, notifying local jurisdictions and eligible entities for their Opportunity Zones 2.0 program, which enables qualifying entities to submit applications for consideration to establish and include various census tracts into the Opportunity Zones program. I did attach, a presentation that I found that I thought might be a useful resource for anyone that was interested. We do have until July 25th, I believe, to go through the process to apply for these eligible census tracts to be included into the program. Based on the information available, it does seem like there's a bit of conflict in the various resources available online. There's various mapping tools available directly through the GoBiz website. But then if you dig further, you see that the Department of Treasury has, various resources related to opportunity zones and their function. So in further consideration, I would like to ask that we include all of the 4 census tracts that are listed by the U.S. Department of Treasury to be included into this resolution. Alternatively, if the board wishes for there to be, more substantive public engagement, we could bring it back for the next meeting and, go through the presentation and try to explain in more detail what the potential benefits of opportunity zones are. If you have any questions, I'm do my best to answer them.
I appreciate that further information, and I will move and request of the board for direction to staff that we bring this back on a following agenda item with a bit more of a presentation so that we can clear up. You'll have the chance to add in the other zones, and then we can also really give a robust information on what we will achieve in this.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Would you like to go through the entirety of that presentation that I included? I mean, there's a vast amount of resources related to opportunity zones. So just want to be, gain some guidance on, what would be best to, present and walk through.
C.A. Tuthill, did you have?
Well, I would just like to remind the board and the public that the presentation was made public. It was part of the agenda item. So there's nothing being hidden. Everything is public out there. There's references to all the public documentation out there. Just because we haven't had the discussion in this particular room doesn't mean it's not public. In addition to that, this is a process just to get us or these potential opportunity zone, these census tracts, part of the program. There's no commitments to anything, but you got to be on the list to be able to be an active participant in it if we so choose so in the future. So this is the very, 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 very first stages of anything happening, but right now we're not even on the list. So if we want to stay off the list, we can stay off the list. If we want to get on the list and get on the train and see if we can make some benefits of it, we can do that. But if we want a presentation, the 43-page slide presentation is there. If you want Drew to stand up at that podium and roll through it, we can certainly do that. But I would ask for maybe a little bit more specific direction as far as what the board and the public would be looking for in a presentation from staff that's not already been presented in this staff report.
Go ahead.
I have first a question for Drew. Is that what's the deadline
I believe it's the 25th
of
July.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this is that the real public engagement about this should be taking place if we get approved, because
This
like,
is just putting us on
correct,
the list.
this is only putting on the list for consideration by the office of the governor. In the end, they decide whether we get approved or not approved. If we get approved, then there's great opportunity and presentations about, okay, we got approved. Here's the opportunities that we have. Here's some initiatives that we think are underway. Here's some things that we could take action on. But until then, as CEO Tuttle said, getting on the list obligates us to nothing, makes us potentially eligible for support and funding. And if we get that, then great opportunities for public engagement. So I just think we're a little cart before the horse.
Okay.
And I respect the recommendation that why not just put all of them onto the proposed list for this 2.0, because some of them are already on a list, but they're also expiring. And so it also kind of speaks to, we do need the engagement to make sure we take advantage of them once we have it. But then if we put all of them on there, we'll see what gets approved, and then we can come back to public engagement if we feel like there's something to engage with and about.
So you made mention of wanting to add other zones too?
Yes, and I can walk you through the very limited changes to the resolution as proposed, if that's helpful.
You're adding additional zones other than what we've agendized for discussion today, and so that would be on our agenda on the 21st. Is that your suggestion?
I mean, I think it's, it's your pleasure. For efficiency, I think it's perfectly reasonable to just, make some minor modifications to the resolution as proposed, and add the.
I don't know what they are by so we can make modifications unless they change the substance of it, then we would have to renotice it for the 21st. So I'd have to know what the changes are, and he has them in writing. Excellent. Okay, these are to add additional zones. I do believe we would want to give the public notice of these before we do it. It would come back on the 21st. Thank you for doing that.
So as per council, bring it back on the 21st. I don't believe that we need the 45-page presentation because, as Supervisor Lutweiler said, we haven't been chosen for this yet. We are asking to put our name on the hopeful list, and if we are chosen, we don't have to accept. So possibly just pare it down to some pertinent information that would just add to the meat of the context, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
Is that enough information?
Yep, I'll add in the details from the Department of Treasury and those eligible census tracts and modify the resolution accordingly.
Okay. Is there any other, is
No.
everyone sound and acceptable with that?
I agree with Supervisor Lutweiler. We are a little premature for a full presentation, so let's see how this pans out.
Okay.
And go from there.
Everyone's confirmed? You see the heads nodding? Okay, thank you.
So I guess formally for the record, the board direction on that item is that we do want the additional zones presented as recommended, and that we direct staff to bring that back at the next meeting with a brief presentation, noting that the deadline is July 25th.
Correct. Good scribing, sir.
Thank you.
Do we want to do that in the form of a motion since this item was called? We would need to
We
continue.
can do that. Okay, so would you like to make a motion?
Sure. Move to direct staff to bring this matter back to the next meeting with staff's recommendation to include additional zones, tracks, provide a brief presentation, and include on the next agenda so that we meet the July 25th deadline. And I'll send something over.
I will second that. Okay, any discussion? Nope, we're clear. Call for the vote, please.
Okey-doke. Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
Aye.
Supervisor Lutweiler.
Aye.
Supervisor Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
And Supervisor Brandfield.
Aye.
We will now hear item E, which is a public hearing. Trinity County Transportation Commission conduct a public hearing to consider if there are any unmet transit needs in Trinity County as required by the Transportation Development Act. And we do have a presentation here with Sarah Thad from Trinity County DOT. Good day, Sarah.
Good morning. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Firstly, I want to say I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I thought Zoom would be appropriate. And also, I just want to say that dealing with transit in such a rural, large county with dispersed populations and very limited funding compared to our other California counties is extremely challenging. So hearing that, we're progressing on the right track and filling critical gaps in service is very great to hear. So I was happy to hear those comments. So today we are having a public hearing on unmet transit needs, and just a little rundown. The unmet transit needs process is required annually through the Transportation Development Act, or the TDA. This generates our local transportation funds and state transit assistance funds, which are used for transit operations and transit capital projects. The process requires meeting with the Social Service Transportation Advisory Council, or the STAC, which we did have on Wednesday, June 24th. And it also requires an annual public hearing, which of course is occurring today. The purpose of the unmet transit needs process is to determine whether there are unmet transit needs within Trinity County, and if so, whether these needs are reasonable to meet based on the commission's adopted definitions and criteria for unmet transit needs and reasonable to meet. These definitions were last adopted last year on June 3rd. During the STAC meeting on June 24th, members reviewed and discussed comments that were received regarding unmet transit needs. And based on the adopted definitions and criteria of unmet transit needs and reasonable to meet, the STAC members recommended that there are unmet transit needs that exist within the county. However, based on the criteria, these unmet needs are not reasonable to meet at this day and time. All comments that are received during today's public hearing will be reviewed and evaluated by our staff. And if warranted, I will reach out to the STAC again to make sure that their input is addressed as well. Based on those comments previously received and any received today, we will then prepare a final recommendation for the board, acting as the commission, to consider whether there are unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet or they are not. And I will say too, just because a service is reasonable to meet or not, does it mean that these services cannot be implemented now or in the future? It's just determining whether they are considered reasonable to meet. And what that recognizes is, with those TDA funds, the local transportation funds and state transit assistance funds, if there are transit needs that are reasonable to meet, that just means that we cannot have those transit funds going to any local streets and roads projects, that it has to be strictly, it would need to meet those reasonable to meet transit needs before it can be allocated to any road projects. But that does not mean that if warranted, the services cannot be implemented. It's just determining if it's reasonable to meet and if the funding needs to go prioritize in those projects before any road projects. Yes, so I will, I guess, leave it open for any public comments.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please do stay online. We'll now have any public comment in the room. Seeing none, is there any public comment online?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, we will close public comment. Do we have any questions from the board at this time? Any questions? No? So we can, I have a hard time remembering on hearings, do we? Pardon me? Just close. So we'll close the public hearing. Okay. So I'll now close the public hearing on this item. Do we have any comments from the board on this matter? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time. And I believe we, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't see you. I apologize.
I want to applaud the efforts that have gone on. And I really want to applaud to Sarah. Sorry you're feeling poorly today. I really want to thank you for your work. You epitomize the kind of engagement and collaboration that we call for. And so thank you for modeling that for us all. And one of the things that I highlighted to CAO Tuttle and Justin, our PIO, is that for me, this is one of those opportunities that in the future, we need to make greater use of our public information officers' resources. So I saw that we did all the things that we did, but we could have done more. And it's not really on you so much as giving all that information in advance to Justin and his team so that they can do outreach on our behalf that is perhaps more powerful and gets more engagement, which I know you want. So I'm just noting that it's great that this board supported CAO Tuttle's recommendation to bring that public information officer resource to the table. And now we've expanded his role a little bit. So this is just, to me, one great example of where we can do that. And I wanted to not miss the opportunity to share that. Thank you.
Of course, and that message did get back to me, and I just want to say that you're absolutely correct. And although we met all the TDA public notice requirements, and we kept with our established outreach project process, of course it could go further. And I've made a big note for me that going forward, we definitely have to send the information to our PIO. Not only in this annual process, but just in the future for major public engagement efforts, because we want to reach out to as many eyes and ears. We want to make sure that our work is meeting the needs of the public. So definitely moving forward, we have that in our process now.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Seeing none, well, thank you once again for all of your work on this. It was enjoyable to go to the meeting. I know Supervisor Brownfield enjoyed it as well. So
Yes.
it's nice to have a chance to reach into the work you guys are doing and sit and listen and learn from you. So thank you for your efforts.
Likewise. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. Okay. We'll now move into county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request an item be heard out of order. Do we have a request for these to be heard out of order? Is order fine? Order is fine. We'll now hear item F1, community development planning, adopt a resolution which establishes guiding principles for use by the Planning Commission while reviewing zoning code updates. We'll have a presentation by our planning department.
Good morning again, board. So just a little bit of a recap. On May 19th and 20th, we had approximately 20 hours of study sessions between the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission, which resulted in bringing back one component of that on June 16th, in which the board directed staff to go ahead and decouple the zoning code from the general plan. And so based on that, there was a variety of requests which I attempted to capture in the staff report. I think of primary significance was the guiding principles for the Planning Commission. And so I guess to just summarize it simply, I think my intent, based on my understanding, was to try to capture the direction of the board as it relates to, as we go forward in scheduling and doing public engagement for a review of the draft zoning code, that we want to ensure that we are not unintentionally modifying the general plan, and that the zoning code is effectively implementing the general plan, programs, policies, et cetera. And so, in the discussion of the staff report, I tried to lay out sort of some of the key components of the general plan that we should be cognizant of as we're reviewing zoning code going forward. And I just want to also acknowledge that, as it relates to zoning code updates and, the ability to, at any point, at the pleasure of staff or commission or the board, zoning code updates can be accomplished. And similarly, we have the ability to do up to 4 general plan amendments per calendar year. And so, while this is a very significant guiding document, policy document, for the county, it is also something that can continue to be a bit of a living document, but really does provide, foundational framework for, county policy as we go forward in time. And so, I don't know how much you would like me to get into the staff report, but I can read the general plan vision statement or I can skip all of that if you've all read it and feel sufficiently oriented to what we're proposing.
I feel well informed.
Yes, I've read all the documents, so
Okay.
and they were available in the agenda packet, so I don't need to.
And I guess I'll just close with, kind of the statement in the staff report, which is, for every proposed zoning code amendment, the commission shall ask a simple question. Does this change better implement the general plan while preserving rural character, protecting resources, maintaining compatibility, supporting appropriate housing, and ensuring that development can be served safely and efficiently? If the answer is yes, the amendment merits consideration. If the answer requires reopening the general plan policy decisions, expanding beyond the scope of the environmental review contained within the general plan EIR, the proposal shall be deferred for separate policy consideration. So I just want to acknowledge within that we need to further, and I don't think it needs to be done, in conjunction with this item, but just generally from a procedural standpoint, going forward, we want to solidify how we will address zoning code updates and general plan amendments going forward in time, so that there's a clear process there as we go through zoning code for things that, the commission or board may want to see implemented, how we, foremost evaluate consistency with the general plan, ensure that it's within the scope of the general plan EIR, try to avoid unnecessary expenditures of, staff time and resources and general plan update funds, but also make sure that we're tracking on what those policy objectives may be. And so one thing I just want to highlight there is that we are required to do general plan reporting to the state every year, and that's something that's also detailed within the general plan itself. And so I think just sort of further refining that process of, as we, let's say, have great, productive, functional concepts that want to find their way into zoning code or potentially be, incorporated into the general plan, that we have a good process detailed for where we want to keep, the review of the zoning code consistent with what the board has already determined to be, through the review that happened a year ago of the general plan, that we're consistent with that. We're not expending excessive resources, spinning around in circles, but that we also want to be able to track and go through on an annual basis. And I think it aligns well with really all of the general plan. I'll highlight that it aligns well with the economic development element to try to find that nexus between economic development objectives and how zoning can facilitate them, and really just, come up with a clear strategy for how we will sort of chunk off those potential future revisions while making, ensuring that we are staying within the scope of the budget, and maximizing the use of our limited resources. Thank you.
I have one question. Drew, I was wondering if you could comment on the note about removing table 2.2, I believe it is. Can you just kind of give a highlight of the reasoning there? I mean, I read it. I just want to make sure that's clear because I think that was something that was not specifically called out as a request of staff to do, but you came back after reviewing it and said, this is what we think we should do.
Yeah, so that's really more a result of some of the discussion, and public comment that we heard during the study sessions. And I think a really significant and important question that came out of that was, from the perspective of development and zoning code, how would we know which zoning district is in effect once the general plan has been adopted, but the zoning code is now trailing behind? How would we determine what allowable uses exist, given the current zoning of a specific parcel? So we went back and forth a bit with Mentor Harnish, and they clarified that this would likely be the best way to proceed. Does that answer your question? You want me to kind of dig into it a little more, or?
Well, I think if you just explain like what happens then? We took it out and we know now we did it because of the input and because of discussions, but the impact of it and the reason for it.
I mean, I guess the impact of it is just, from my perspective anyways, we're minimizing confusion. And so, the example given in the staff report was, if a property is currently zoned unclassified, then the provisions and allowable uses, et cetera, that exist in the unclassified zoning district, applicable to a specific parcel, in this example, an unclassified parcel, would remain in effect. And that would be what would govern land use on that parcel until zoning code and the associated zoning map is updated, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Do you have any questions?
No, I just wanted to thank you for being at my last town hall and fielding and answering all those questions that you just kind of put out there. I think District 3, for those who are concerned, found a lot of clarity that night. Did a great job.
Thanks.
And as we move through this, we'll continue to do those things moving forward so that my district understands how this process works and how we move through it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you. We will now take public comment on this item. Do we have any public comment in the room? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. You were hiding behind Drew there. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Supervisor, staff, Dan Trujillo, Weaverville. So I appreciate the effort that's gone into developing the proposed guiding principles associated with agenda item F1, namely the resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Trinity County establishing, I believe, guideline principles for planning commission use while reviewing zoning code updates, which we just heard a little bit about. Many of the individual principles listed there are thoughtful, they're reasonable, and they're consistent with good planning practice. So my concern's not primarily with their content, it's with the process by which they are being introduced. So these principles establish, as was noted, the framework that will guide how one of the most significant legislative efforts currently before the county is evaluated. They are, in effect, the procedural and philosophical lens through which future deliberation will occur. I believe that the board, the county staff, the CAO know that. Yet this meeting appears to be the first meaningful, and I underscore meaningful, opportunity for the public to see and to comment on them before adoption, which is before the board today. The public has spent years commenting on the substance of the zoning code, and they have not had a comparable opportunity to discuss the principles that will guide how those comments are evaluated. So in other words, the public has been invited to deliberate about what the code should say, but not about how those decisions should be approached or implemented. And this distinction matters. Democratic legitimacy requires more than allowing comment immediately before a vote, which is happening now. It asks whether the public had a meaningful opportunity to influence the development of the framework itself while alternatives remain genuinely open. So I'd respectfully suggest an alternative that preserves both efficiency and public trust. Rather than adopting the resolution today, receive it as a discussion draft, direct staff to release it for a public review period, and invite comments from the Planning Commission and the public specifically on these guiding principles, and return the resolution for adoption at a subsequent meeting together with a summary of the comments received and any recommended revisions. That process would not delay the zoning code in any significant way, but it would ensure that the principles governing public deliberation are themselves the product of public deliberation. For a project of this importance, I believe that that's both good governance and reasonable stewardship of the public's trust in this deliberative body. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your attention.
Do we have any further public comment online?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. We will now close public comment on this item. I will entertain a motion for the point of discussion.
I'll move to adopt the resolution as presented.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Do you have any discussion on this matter?
Could I make a second
You.
motion?
Go ahead, Supervisor Leutwiler, and then we'll.
I just want to thank Drew and team for this work. When we approved the motion last time, we gave some level of specificity, and this took it, and made that very real. And I think it's very important that we have this to guide this board, next board, commission, the next commission, in these efforts. And more than anything, what it does is reaffirm something we all should already know, and that is the general plan and the EIR. The general plan drives the zoning code, not the other way around. And you boil it down, that's basically what it says. And it just did a great job of taking that to the next level. And in terms of the public comment, again, I'm all about transparency and engagement. And I think as CO Tuttle said, this was in the materials. People that are interested have an opportunity to weigh in. We received no emails. We received one comment. We gave this direction to staff at the last board meeting. So I think we could always do more engagement, and I think we would have paralysis by analysis. So I don't feel like this is one where it needs to change. And if there was strong public input that they don't like what this is, it can always be brought back before the board. But I just feel like, as much as I spent a few minutes encouraging Sarah to use public engagement more for the transportation piece, this to me is not one where I would say that is so relevant. Just my view.
Thank you. Supervisor Brownfield, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a second motion, and that is to bring this back with some more deliberation for the public, just for transparency and we're hearing the public say, this is really important. And I think any kind of deliberation that we can do in public for this, if they're asking for that, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. And two, I'm not sure why this board really wants to do. I think that the principles are very thoughtful, and I agree with Dan on those. I think that the commission is very able to make some determinations that we're keeping the guardrails too tight on them to do.
Supervisor Cox just reminded me of a point of order. I
Okay.
do apologize.
Mhm.
We do need a second before we can have additional dialogue.
Okay.
So are you complete though in your backup for your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second to this motion, or did you have a comment regarding?
Need a second beforehand.
I have a comment, if okay.
We have to have a second on.
Okay, well, I second.
Okay, so we have a second
Discussion.
on Supervisor Brownfield's motion for discussion. So now we can have discussion on Supervisor Brownfield's motion. Supervisor Gogan, did you?
So after taking the pulse of the county through public comment in room and on Zoom, it seems like the pulse is one. If not, I'm sure we would have had other people commenting today or prior to today. And as far as, myself in District 3, I think we've been very transparent, open, honest, available to answer any questions as far as going as far as having Drew at my last town hall and probably some future town halls. So as far as being transparent, open, and giving the public chance for input, I think that for me, and I probably think that for the rest of the board, we've been pretty open about all that here and in our public meetings that we have, town halls, meetings, whatever we may have. So I do feel that going down this road is fine. That we're good.
Supervisor Leutwiler?
Yeah, I just wanted to address Supervisor Brownfield. So in terms of why would we want to just move forward? The schedule that's attached in that says that on July 9th, there's a planning commission meeting. On the 10th, there's a general plan EIR release for public review. And on the 10th through the 24th, there's a 40-day public review period, so on and so forth. So we have multiple things that are starting. And so having this in place before this next planning commission meeting makes it very clear as you begin your deliberations, and this is the guidance that you should have. So, and I think I would echo what I heard with Supervisor Gogan. If we rely on one or two or three individuals that speak up and let that cause us to step back and take, unless it's telling us something that we really hadn't thought of or considered, to step back and take another set of weeks and staff time to deliberate these things in public when only, in this case, one person. No other emails, no other calls, nothing. I just feel like we can spin our wheels like that all day long on 100 different things, and we don't have the bandwidth. So for this is staff's interpretation of the direction we provided them. It provides the clarity that this commission needs as they move forward and this board needs. And there will be other opportunity. If after this meeting, the word gets out and we have a whole onslaught of emails and comments and stuff to revisit this resolution, we can. But in the meantime, move forward. So that's my comment and why I will support the original motion.
Okay. My reasoning for this is that the principles were not really, the public hadn't had a chance to really go over the principles that we put together here. And the principles are going to restrict, and I'm going to say restrict because that's what they will do, the planning commission from being creative and fixing the problems that the public told us that were in this. So for me to back up to 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever that may be, right, is not a defeat. It's a move forward because transparency has been questioned a little bit here. So if we can put the public at ease, the commission may be able to chime in a little bit and we get this. The most important thing is to get this right. And I think we heard a lot on the 20th, the 19th and the 20th about it not being right yet. So I'm okay with deadlines and we still can meet those deadlines. But I think we need to take a step back, let the public go ahead and look at these principles and give their 2 cents. And I think there's more people in the background than you would think that they called in or emailed that are interested in making this right. So I heard a lot on the 19th and the 20th about the process not being right. So my concern, and for my district, because many, many, many changes are going to happen to my constituents, I'm wanting us to take every opportunity to think thoughtfully about this, to talk about it with the public, because that's the democratic system here. We talk about it with the public because they are the ones that we are making the decisions for. So that's my reasoning, and I still stay by that, I think, but yep.
Supervisor Cox, did you have any comments?
Sure. So as far as public engagement is concerned, I look at the 20-ish hours that we spent engaging with the public, from which we heard very clearly that our draft zoning code was not hitting the target in the center, which we agreed with. In that engagement, we came out of that with over an hour's worth of, okay, then how do we take these pieces, put them into step-by-step going forward, and then what does this look like in order to create a process to fix the zoning code? With that, or out of that, came sort of principles then of what that would look like, which does have public engagement as the impetus for the creation of that. In my opinion, we have captured what was said in those 20+ hours. And to the perspective that, well, but it's on an agenda and the public now comes to this, but the public should be able to be involved with staff in order to create this. That kind of a process will see us, in my opinion, spinning ourselves in a circle for weeks and months on end. The reason that we have staff is because we have highly educated individuals who are engaged in their streamlined focus track of work, who then take the information that has been provided, they implement that into what has been directed, and out of that, here's what we have. And so I just think that there's in my opinion, a little skewed sort of version of what public input means. Public input does not mean that the public sits down with the staff. Public input means that you come to the board and you say, hey, as you're setting the vision, as you're setting the policy, here are the things that we want to see you include in that. Those are the things that we heard incorporated, and this is the document that's come back. In my opinion, it's been captured accurately, and so with that, it has my support, and I would like to see us hit the other target that was brought forward, which is let's not waste funds in spinning in circles, and with that, it does have my support.
Ask Julia, the people that are in the background, you know, I can't pull the people in District 3 that are in the background. I can ask them to step forward at a town hall meeting. I can bring Drew there to explain. We did have the 20-hour session here that was open to the public 2 days in a row. But, you know, to say that there's people in the background, if they want to remain in the background, then that's not going to do them much good. And I've always emphasized, and I've said it here probably every board meeting we have, get engaged. You in the background, step forward, talk to me, talk to any of the board members of your district so you're not in the background. I can't read the mind of the background. I can understand the person who comes to the town hall, steps forward here or on Zoom, but I don't know in my district, the thoughts, the thinking, the mindset of the background. And, you know, I don't want to delve into that as just a guess on what the background may be. If you have information or they have information, this is the time, you know, a town hall. So you understand, like I understand, what my district was looking for, and those questions were answered. And Drew did a great job answering and fielding every question from a pretty good audience at that town hall a week or 3 ago. So we need to get somehow the people that are in the background to the foreground so that their voice can be heard. If not, they remain in the background. And, you know, there's not a lot we can surmise from what they may be thinking if they are in the shadows and not out in the foreground.
I hear you 100%, and people need to engage more.
They do.
Completely understand that. But the principles are only, I mean, we put the agenda out on what, Friday, Saturday. The public doesn't have a whole lot of time to look at those principles and say, hey, those are okay, those aren't okay. And so that it's a difficult thing, and I understand that there will be more processes before, so I understand that. But these are pretty important principles, and they will dictate how those meetings go at the commission. And I'm skeptical about the commission being given the freedom to do what they need to do to get to the right solutions. So that's.
So I guess my question would be, the 20 hours that we did have with the board and the planning commission, did you feel that their hands were tied in any way, or they were not able to speak freely or vote freely?
No, it was a wonderful, hashed out, exhausting, grueling. I slept for a day afterwards, meetings, and they were beautiful. Those are exactly what I want to see. I want to see the public hash these things out. And maybe this is a small issue to the board because we understand the principles, the guiding principles, but to the public, I think these are important guidelines and they will dictate how things happen. And I think this is such an important zoning update that we have to give it every bit of time that the public asks for. So that's what all I'm saying here is has to be very.
I will just make a final statement that it's my understanding, and it was my personal experience, that we developed these very publicly. This language was brought forward in my memory and recollection during the 2-day meetings, but then it was also brought forward in subsequent meetings after that as we worked through how we developed the direction to the staff. So I'm just going to say that when I look at the guiding principles to establish the framework for evaluating proposed amendments to the Trinity County zoning code, the amendments should implement the adopted general plan and comply with applicable law. They should protect rural character, which is something I believe you brought forward passionately at the last meeting and made sure that we were making sure that we protected rural lifestyle and rural character. They should also protect our natural resources, preserve private property rights, which is another thing I know you brought forward with concern during all of the meetings, Supervisor Brownfield, and that we, where feasible, support compatible and orderly development and promote efficient, fiscally responsible public services. I feel like I was present when all of those things were brought forward, and I feel like we, in my lived experience, we discussed those at length here. And so I'm very comfortable with supporting these guiding principles and feel like there was substantial time to consider these together and openly. So I will now close comment on this and we'll call for the vote. Do you have any further responses?
Perhaps a few things, but first, I just want to acknowledge and apologize for the typo in the heading of the resolution that was presented to you all. So if that resolution is adopted, let's make sure we fix guideling to guiding.
I see that.
Yes, obviously I
that.
didn't. So again, I apologize.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to clarify. So to Supervisor Brownfield's sort of comments, and I think others of you have pointed this out, that we have a planning commission meeting on Thursday. And so the intent was to basically take, the outcome of the study sessions, the outcome of the subsequent, formal motion to decouple, and then these guiding principles, if adopted today, to the planning commission to further discuss and determine what the upcoming schedule will be based on planning commissioner availability for, extended study sessions. So the intent from my perspective was to bring all of this forward to the planning commission. How the planning commissioners and that body collectively will receive that, I don't know, but I'd be happy to bring, a summary of that back to the board, just to keep you all, informed in that regard. So yeah, I just wanted to make that known that, we are going to be in some capacity taking sort of formally the outcome of the study sessions and the decoupling and what that means from a schedule and process perspective, with or without these guiding principles, to the planning commission for further discussion so that we can, figure out exactly what's going to happen over the rest of this year as it relates to zoning code review.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask him a question? Okay, so if it comes to the commission and the commission says, hey, this list, I don't like this and this and this on these lists, on this resolution list, what is their cure for that? I mean, if they say, hey, this is unreasonable on this resolution, this principle, is there any way to, or no? Or is the guiding principle list going to be what they?
Well, if it's adopted today,
Right.
As I said, I'd be happy to bring back, a summary of, questions, comments, concerns. But to your specific question, if the commission collectively says, we don't like X, Y, and Z, then really what needs to happen is a dialogue between staff and the commission to clarify why they don't like it. And then based on board direction, I guess, further clarify that there are some confines to the scope by which, we can make amendments to zoning code so that we're not inadvertently or intentionally reopening the general plan and then derailing the rest of that progress, which, as I recall, it was the board's direction to proceed, to adopt the general plan and EIR this year. So that's what we're trying to balance. I think some of your questions and concerns really come down to, the question that I have is how do we better educate the public? Because I think that there's a lot of confusion or lack of clarity related to what is the general plan and what is zoning code. How do they interact? How do they, how does the general plan inform the zoning code? And what can we really do within the scope of the general plan as, previously determined to be, good to proceed from the board over a year ago. So that, if that kind of helps, but, we're going to present this to the planning commission, and if there's major concerns or if there's no concerns, I can bring any or all of that back to the board so that, you all are aware of. And obviously I would assume you speak with your commissioners, so I'm sure they can reach out directly and voice their concerns to you. But yeah, just wanted to add those things. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Drew,
you.
for all your hard work too.
Okay, we will close comment on those, and we'll now vote on Supervisor Brownfield's motion to deter the acceptance of this.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Bramfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Lutwiler,
No.
Supervisor Cox,
No.
Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
No. So we will now vote on, I believe it was Supervisor Cox, to move the resolution forward.
Supervisor Lutwiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield,
No.
Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
Aye. Motion carries. Resolution passed. We will now hear pardon me,
That typo changed.
with the typo changed. Yes, yes, typo changed. Okay, we'll now move to item F2, Health and Human Services Budget Adjustment. Approve a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for Public Guardian Department 5105, increasing the intra-fund expenses by $8,500 and interfund expenses by $32,500, and approve a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for General Fund Contingency Department 9901, decreasing provisions for contingency by $41,000. An increase in general fund appropriations in the amount of $41,000. Current contingency balance is $535,425. Is that correct? Did I say
No.
that right? No, I went backwards.
Close
I
though.
have dyslexia, so I do apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, $535,425. There we go. Dollars. Thank you. I apologize. Numbers move around a little bit for me
That's okay.
sometimes, and I get things messed up. I
Okay.
do apologize for that.
Good morning, Board. Liz Hamilton, Health and Human Services Agency Director. We're all human. Thank you.
God.
Thank you. I kicked myself because last time when I came to the board meeting asking for contingency funds, I mentioned that we rarely do this, yet to do it 2 times in a row. This is our request for a budget adjustment in the Public Guardian program. This is one of just a couple of programs that we oversee that is the responsibility of the county to fund. This account is all for administrative costs. There's no costs that come out of here for direct client service. So this is the just doing business. This will cover expenses that have been accrued from February to June 30th. Most of which is staff expenses. We have had a very busy spring with just complex case, 2 in particular, that have just required significant staff time and legal counsel time in and out of court, and several multidisciplinary meetings One case in particular with over 750 placement attempts. That is very unusual and just goes to just show that complex needs we are experiencing more often and just require a lot of time. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but our staff report has a lot of information in there.
Thank you. Do we have any questions at this time? I will now have public comment on this item. Is there any public comment in the room? Seeing none, is there any public comment online on this item?
I see no raised hands.
I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve as presented.
I will second.
Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Lutwiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield, Aye. Supervisor Carpenter Harris.
Aye, thank you.
I will say, if you come a third time in a row, you're gonna have to bring some cookies or something.
I will now read into the record our closed session items that we will be proceeding into. Item G1, closed session, Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claimant, Crystal Green, claim number TIBZ-6000133. And then item G2 is Government Code Section 54954.5, conference with legal counsel, existing litigations, number of cases 1, Ismail versus Trinity County et al., Trinity County Superior Court number 22 CV010. Item G3, Government Code Section 54954.5F, Labor Negotiations, County Designated Representatives, Lila Cassis, Margaret Long, Susie Hawkins, and Employee Organization, Health and Human Services Unit. Do we have any public comment in the room? Seeing none, do we have any online?
I see no raised hands.
You were hoping for that.
We will now close the public meeting of the Trinity County Board of Supervisors for July 7th, 2026, and move into our closed session.